This is not your father's NFL. Rookie tight ends and quarterbacks will no longer be overlooked in fantasy drafts, as many have put up big production in their rookie season in today's NFL. We go through the top players in the 2026 tight end and quarterback class on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football Show. I am Michelle Magdziuk. This is Vinnie Iyer. And today we're going to go through the top 3 tight ends and top 2 quarterbacks in the 2026 draft class and give you an overview on those players, our expectations for them in fantasy in year one, and then also tell you where we want to see them be drafted, which team we want them to land on. So starting with the best tight end in this draft class, or the guy ranked number 1, I should say, is Oregon's Kenyon Sadiq. He is extremely athletic with a 4.39 speed at 241 pounds, 6'3", an insane jump at 43.5-inch vert jump at the combine. But overall, like, his numbers don't pop up off the screen. 3 years at Oregon. His last year there, it was his best year with 560 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's still very, very young, though. Only just turned 21 years old. And like, he has the abilities. It's just the production could scare off some people. But we've seen, guys that didn't have huge production in college, and then they're completely fine in the NFL and can put up big numbers. I mean, George Kittle did nothing in school. Loveland never had more than 650 yards in a college career. Sam Laporta, same thing with him. So it's like, you shouldn't be too worried about the actual production and see more of the skill set.
Yeah, I mean, those programs you talked about, Iowa and Michigan, they've had a consistent turning out of really talented tight ends. So, and sometimes it's not about the volume. We also had a draft a couple years ago with Iowa, Noah Fant and TJ Hawkinson from there. So those systems are pretty good. Kenyon Sadiq, however, operated more like a go-to wide receiver for Dante Moore, who decided to stay in school. So in key situations, he would look a lot to Kenyon Sadiq. It kind of reminds me a little bit of what we had with Kyle Pitts and Kyle Trask a few years ago. So it's hard to kind of put him in the context of those other first-round guys. I don't think he's quite where Colson Loveland and Tyler Warren were. I'm not even quite sure he's right there where Kyle Pitts was at that time, right? Brock Bowers was off the charts, different story. So you're dealing with just a guy that's a solid first-round prospect for this position, but sometimes it comes down to there's not a lot on the board and the guy stands out a lot. And this guy stands out for what he does. There are some really other good, decent receiving tight ends in this class. We'll get into them. But Kenyon Sadiq just kind of operates like a receiver. He has that kind of testing numbers that you would see with a receiver with the athleticism, everything he put on display at the combine. So he definitely has a chance to have an immediate impact. Let's see where he goes. And I think there's a couple of weird developing spots for him that we may not have thought about. We'll get into that in a moment. But I think this guy, depending on the situation, will be in the conversation to be a top 15 tight end. Top 12 is going to be determined by what team he lands on. So I think he's good as any. Keep in mind, Kyle Pitts, through all the disappointment until last year, was a 1,000-yard receiver as a rookie. So he can get it done, Sadiq, if he gets the right targets in the right system.
Yeah, I mean, tight ends have been getting it done in fantasy, so that's what we have to figure out from Sadiq. Can he join this group of guys? I mean, last year we had Tyler Warren and Harold Fannin Jr. and as the tight end 5 and 6 in scoring last year. Then Loveland, he didn't break out to the second half of the year, but finished as a tight end 12. But that monster end of season really helped people win leagues, right? Brock Bowers was a tight end 1 in 2024. Sam Laporta, tight end 1 as a rookie in 2023. Kyle Pitts, tight end 7. He just brought up his 1,000-yard season as a rookie in 2021. So it's basically every year these rookie tight ends are performing. And you're right. It's going to change our ranking probably. Is it going to be closer to the tight end 15 range if he lands in a situation where we don't think he can immediately get a big workload? Or does he land in a spot that will need to target him instantly, and he should be in that top 10 category. I think it would be hard to rank him ahead. Like, I think right now I'm still going to take Laporta over Sadiq, but at tight end 9, you have Aronde Gadsden right now in ADP. Would you rather go with Aronde Gadsden, or let's say, Sadiq lands with the Buccaneers? Would you rather go with Sadiq or Aronde Gadsden?
Yeah, that would be intriguing because I talked about this a lot in the mock draft, and that's where I have Sadiq going right now to Tampa because they did get K. Dotton, but they do have a different offensive approach here with Zach Robinson. He did really help Kyle Pitts there with a big season in Atlanta before shifting in the division. So when you look at that, I mean, K. Dotton is there, but you have Emeka Buka. Okay, he was the first-round pick. But Mike Evans is gone. Chris Godwin, can you really trust him to stay healthy? He's older. He could easily break down. And you have Jalen McMillan, who's a good player. We saw it as a rookie, but again, got overshadowed a little bit by Ibuka being there. So he definitely has room for targets. K. Dotton, look, he's not a threat to Sadiq, especially if they draft him, right? That says they want to use this guy as a weapon because they have a lot of needs. They have needs at linebacker, and Alontae David retired. They got edge rusher needs. The Bucs have a lot of needs. So if they lock into Sadiq in the first round, they say this is a priority for us to contend. This is a target that we can get going with Baker Mayfield right away. So I think that's the indication you get. Now, there's other teams later that could stash him, like the Eagles. Like, say, Dallas Goedert is getting old, so we can go that direction. But then there was a little bit of rumbling. We talked about Colston Loveland. There's this rumor out there that the Bengals are interested in a tight end, and Cole Kmet could be moved. And then the other thing is the Bengals are interested in a tight end. So he could be on that team as well with those guys. And that would be ridiculous. That would boost Joe Burrow's value, but that would not be good for Sadiq because you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So interesting. I mean, there's some teams, again, I mentioned the Eagles could stash him. I think, of course, the Chiefs could stash him. I don't think he's going to fall till later in the first round, but they could do that and have him.
Well, they have the number 1 overall pick if they want to take him that early.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's all these things. So you look at that and say, hey, there's all these options, and say, hey, we want him to go to a place where he's going to see playing time. Another place that I've mentioned quite a bit is the Panthers. Because, again, we've tried to make this work with Jatavion Sanders and Tommy Tremble, but they really haven't had a significant receiving tight end since Greg Olsen. It's better days, right? So they need another weapon, of course, for what Bryce Young is doing. Terry McMillan was a start, but Bryce Young still had a moderate improvement and not big improvement. So yet McMillan and Sadiq, now you got a good situation, right? 2 top targets in the offense. McMillan drawing some attention. Sadiq could get open here. So there's a lot of possibilities for Sadiq, and it's very confusing. But I think the real value, I mean, he's a guy really dependent on where he lands. He could go all the way to top 8 upside if he has it. We just talked about it. But right now, you got to say 15 and hope for the best where he lands. But I'm really intrigued by this player because I think he'll dictate a lot of what else happens in the first round.
Yeah, lots of good landing spots for him. A couple more could be, I mean, the Dolphins have 2 picks in the first round. Maybe instead of going wide receiver, they go with Sadiq and build their offense around him. The Rams could be a choice. Sean McVay seems to always be looking for a great tight end out there. Vikings, if they want to move on from TJ Hawkinson, all good options. So lots of good landing spots for him. The Jaguars don't have a pick in the first, or else it would have been a really good one. But I do have a different... Yeah, I have a different tight end that the Jaguars might be able to land. So, and Eli Stowers, who I really, really like as a receiving tight end, he's enticing me for fantasy. So we'll talk about him and Max Klare at tight end, and then get into quarterbacks right after a quick break. If you ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming fast. That's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. It tracks all of your subscriptions in one spot and can help cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so you can actually see where your money is going. And you can set budgets, get alerts, stay on top of upcoming bills. It just makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clear picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, let's get into these group of tight ends. Before I do that, I just want to remind everyone to sign up for the Everydayer Club. You get our show Monday through Friday, ad-free episodes, no interruptions, and access to the group chat with Vinnie and I and other listeners of the show on Discord. So just go to lockedonfantasyfootball.supercast.com or click the link in the show notes to learn more and join, all for just $5 a month. All right, Eli Stowers. I think he's a very, very intriguing prospect coming out of school. I mean, he's a freak of an athlete, a freak, like 6'3", 239 pounds, 4.51 speed. So he didn't run as fast as Sadiq, but a 45.5-inch vert is absurd. Over 11-inch broad jump. And I mean, he's going to be able to get open. He's going to be able to come down with those deep catches as well. And what's interesting with him is he became a tight end so late in his career. He was a quarterback, highly recruited quarterback coming out of high school, went to Texas A&M to play quarterback, didn't at all, went to New Mexico State, and then finally decided to transfer to Vanderbilt and start to play tight end. And that's his 2 years there playing tight end, very productive. He played a little bit at New Mexico State in that position, but he did the thing. He did the thing at school in Vandy. His last year there, he led all tight ends in receiving yards per game in the FBS. And the one big issue with him is he's not the best blocker, which will push him down drafts. But for fantasy football, that doesn't really matter if he can block. We don't actually want that, right? As long as he's still able to get on the field, we want him running routes, not blocking.
Yeah, interesting guy. Again, the Bears were rumored to be really liking Eli Stowers. Again, this is probably where the Cole Kmet rumors going, because they just actually gave Kmet a contract, and that would make it a little confusing. It's not the best landing spot, but I think they're looking really hard to move Kmet and kind of just stack it here for Ben Johnson, basically, because he loves to use 12 personnel. So you got Loveland in there and Stowers. It's not necessarily a death knell for Stowers, but you got to take a pause, right? A little bit. Yeah. It'd be their avenue of trying to replace DJ Moore in a way, like his work, and then maybe it'd be a little bit lesser Luther Burden and Rome Odunze if this would happen. So I think that's a thing that is in play. The Bengals would be good, but the Broncos have been also really attached to Eli Stowers. They want an addition here. You mentioned the Jaguars. I mean, Evan Ingram, the Broncos got him from the Jaguars, but he was a major disappointment. He's starting to really show his age. Look, Sean Payton, it's got to be bugging Sean Payton not to have that impact tight end. They even brought in Adam Troutman who was with the Saints. He hasn't panned out either. So that would be a really good landing spot, I think, as well. I mean, you get Sutton and Waddle and Stowers, not Bowers, would be a really good combination. You have Bowers and Stowers in the same division, but that would be really nice to see, because then you might, hey, Bo Nix's weapons are starting to look pretty good, right? So I think there's a lot of landing spots, but I think Denver, I think they're going to really look at taking a tight end here.
Yeah, I'm hoping he goes to a team that needs to utilize him and give him targets immediately. Like, I think the Texans could be an interesting spot for him in the second round, but I don't think he'd beat out Dalton Schultz. So as a rookie, I don't think he'd get too many targets. I think the Jaguars would be maybe the best landing spot now that they're saying Hunter is going to be mostly used as a corner and not as much as a wide receiver. And then, yeah, I'm with you on the Broncos one. I think the Broncos would be nice. I don't know if he would get as many targets as we'd want from him to be super productive as a rookie. Also, the Seahawks, if he lasts till the end of the second round, could be an option as well. So definitely could upgrade their tight end room. AJ Barner's fine, but they could use an upgrade if they are looking that way. All right, next guy here up as tight end 3 on most people's boards in this class is Max Klare out of Ohio State. He's the biggest out of the bunch at 6'4", 246 pounds. He didn't participate in drills at the combine, so we don't have numbers there, but good route runner, good at tracking the ball in the air, strong hands for tight window catches. The negatives on him is he needs to get a little bit stronger because he could be pushed off his spot. And, the production doesn't jump off the page either, but he was playing that last year at Ohio State with all these great wide receivers, right? So they're going to utilize the great wide receivers over the tight end. But I'm not like super pumped about Max Klare unless he just lands in a spot where he's instantly a starter.
Yeah, he's been a little bit up and down for me on the board. I mean, Stowers has really stood out a little bit for his athleticism. Klare is like a nice, classic kind of overall inline tight end that kind of was underutilized in the passing game. We know that happens a lot with these loaded teams, especially Ohio State, with what they had with Jeremiah Smith and Cardell Tate. But I saw a lot of things I liked. Now, I think he would be an ideal guy. Don't forget, this team also needs a tight end. It's the Ravens. They actually lost 2 tight ends, not just Isaiah Likely, but Charlie Kolar left in free agency as well. So they need somebody behind Mark Andrews. Maybe wait a year. I think he's a better dynasty target, right? If he gets into a situation, especially with Andrews getting a little bit older, or maybe the Chiefs stashing behind Travis Kelce, something like that. So to me, I think he would be a better stash. Even the Eagles, as I mentioned, some of these teams that need to look to the future at tight end. So I don't expect immediate impact from him. I think Stowers, it depends on the landing spot, but Klare, I think you just have to wait and see here. Again, it's not like Trey McBride in his class where he was taken a little later, but he was still probably the best tight end receiving-wise on the board. Where Klare, if he goes a little bit second, third round or beyond that, I would just be careful and see where he develops. But I'd like to maybe see him on the Ravens so he has a chance in a year to really be productive. But again, he's more of a dynasty. I think Stowers is kind of in between, and then Sadiq for sure you want to get in redraft leagues.
Yeah, lots of teams out there could be looking for, their guy in a year or two to develop him. I love that Eagles spot because they really do have to be looking for the future here with signing Dallas Goedert to that just 1 year, I believe. And, maybe a team like the 49ers, George Kittle getting older, tearing his Achilles. Or I brought up the Texans. They did re-sign Schultz, but not for long, not a huge contract. So could be, the next guy up after that. So there's definitely options for him. I would expect third round pick for him, but we'll see where he lands, and we can talk more about his expectations for fantasy once we know his landing spot. Let's move over to the quarterbacks at the top of this class. And really, there's only 2 guys that are even being considered first round prospects. Is Fernando Mendoza, who we know is going to the Raiders unless something crazy happens, and Ty Simpson. We'll see if he actually gets selected in the first round. We'll get to that to close out today's show.
This episode, Locked On Fantasy Football, is brought to you by Rugiet. The NFL Draft is here, almost here, where preparation meets opportunity and every decision matters. It's all about being ready when your moment comes. That same mindset applies off the field, too. That's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet offers treatments designed to help you feel ready and confident when it matters most. Their top option, Rugiet Ready, is a mint that dissolves under your tongue with clinically proven results. It works quickly, often in about 15 minutes, and can last up to 36 hours. They also offer Go Long, designed to help with both performance and control. It's all about showing up at your best whenever your moment is. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's Rugiet, Rugiet, Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Rugiet. Performance medicine for men. All right. We've talked about the tight ends. Yeah, that's it for now that we're going to look at for 2026. Quarterbacks. We don't have at least 2 guys that are going to go in the first round for sure. We know one is at 1 overall, Fernando Mendoza. So let's start with him, Michelle. Where would you say he kind of fits in with some of these recent quarterbacks, his skill set, and who would you kind of compare him to? I think I have a pretty good comparison. It's on his own team with Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Physically, even the facial features are there as well. But
and the personality.
Basically, to me, strong arm, pocket passer, gets overhyped, trying to be cooler than they actually are. So that's all there. But with Mendoza, do you see him having a chance to start over Cousins? Is he going to get it done? And do you think he has that immediate ability the way that we've seen with Joe Burrow and some of the other quarterbacks?
Yeah, to go through his production a little bit. He started at Cal the first 2 years in college, was not very productive. Then he transfers to Indiana, first year there last year, and he led the team to an undefeated season and a national championship, Heisman winner, all that good stuff. 41 passing touchdowns, 7 rushing touchdowns. And he has some mobility as well. 440 rushing yards last year, excluding sacks. So, and we saw him in that national championship game run for that touchdown. He really showed off his mobility there. And I think that's what made people say, okay, yeah, we like him for, to be the number 1 overall pick there. But still young, 22 years old, has the correct body type to be a good quarterback in the league at 6'4", 236 pounds, 9.5-inch hands. Like, no worries there. Throws with anticipation, has good ball placement, has the football IQ to be a good quarterback. The only worries was it just the Indiana system that made it super easy for him. We don't know. He's not the strongest of arms, can leave the pocket early. Like, those are all some worries. But I'm with you. I can definitely see your comp for Kirk Cousins. I also think Jared Goff could be a comp, but he's more mobile than both Goff and Cousins. So actually the comp I like more is a taller Brock Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how tall is Brock? I don't know, but I kind of see him as
they're comparable. Yeah, they're comparable size, and Brock Purdy is
6'1", so he's bigger Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I mean, Mendoza's classic, pretty close to that Tom Brady 6'4", 225 type of thing. That would be kind of the ideal size. But look, he's delivered. He was in the right system last year. Be great again. We've talked about if he could get Elijah Surratt or Omar Cooper Jr. working with him right away. He does have Brock Bowers, pretty good running game here. Need to upgrade the offensive line besides Colton Miller. So there's some elements there that you like. Like, I think he'll have every chance to compete and win this job over Kirk Cousins.
Oh, I don't.
Really?
I think
they'll give him a shot.
I think they're determined to make Mendoza sit. Now, when they lose 10 games this year, or whatever they did, yeah. Once they start losing about games, they'll have to end up putting them in. Yeah. But either way, if it's Mendoza or like unless they stock up on wide receivers in this draft and they feel great, I don't even know if you should be pushing up Mendoza because he has no one to outside of Brock Bowers. It's really that wide receiver group. It's them and the Dolphins is just like atrocious. It's like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah, I guess I would believe it when I see it, right? I mean, the number 1 overall quarterbacks, Cam Newton played right away, Joe Burrow played right away. Caleb Williams, like, you don't take a guy number 1 overall to waste his rookie year. Like, he could be good right away. So we have to see, right? I think that'll open the door. I mean, Kirk Cousins is old, and he's in a new system again. It's a different team. So let's see how it plays out. But I think you're right. They need to give him some help to feel confident throwing out there so he's not just getting ripped to shreds. But I think he's got the mentality and physical toughness as well, mental toughness and makeup to say he can take a bit of those lumps and still recover. But the key is, they need to focus on receiver. They need to focus on offensive line. They got the running back. They got the tight end. Those are some key elements already. They got the guy calling plays in Kubiak. So there's a lot of favorable things but keep in mind, even Sam Darnold was not a top flight fantasy quarterback in the Kubiak system. He was a back-end guy that you look at. So that's why it makes sense that he's being ranked among the QB2s right now. Will probably go down, of course, if it's more of an indicator that Cousins is going to start over him, but he's in like the 20s right now. So again, he's going to be drafted by the Raiders. It determines where we're going to see. And then if he gets benched, I think he might have some value later in the season as a streamer. But Dynasty, he definitely has a lot of appeal that you're going to draft him. And look, he could be a guy that's in the league for 12 years and really just be solid for more of those seasons than not. So I think, Dynasty, plenty of appeal. Fantasy, wait and see. I personally would not draft him, but if he gets starts late in the season, he could be a matchup-based play for you.
Yeah, and then with Ty Simpson, he might actually get the chance to start before Mendoza, depending on where he lands. I mean, if he lands with a team like the Cardinals, the Browns, the Jets, all desperately need quarterbacks, possibly the Steelers. I mean, they still don't know if Aaron Rodgers is coming back, but with Ty Simpson, his biggest thing is he didn't get a shot until his 4th year at Alabama. And that 4th year, he also, dealt with some injuries, wasn't as productive once he was dealing with that injury. And I mean, the numbers don't like jump off the page, that's for sure, but he was fine, right? But he is also already on the older side without really any tape on him. He'll be 24 years old this season, during the season. He's 6'1", 211 pounds. So on the smaller side, he's able to quickly process. He's accurate, can have a big arm, but it's inconsistent. And he's mobile enough to like give you a 300-yard rushing season or something. But I'm not excited about Ty Simpson at all. I think he's going to be a flop in the NFL. But what are your thoughts? Like, is he going to be more draftable than Mendoza this year? Because at least he'll have the opportunity to play sooner, possibly.
Yeah, I just don't want to attach myself to Simpson in fantasy at all. Like, it just depends, right? I mean, the Cardinals are the betting favorite, which is surprising because I just don't think they're going to force their hand into a quarterback, but they do pick early in the second round. I think that's where everyone's looking at those picks, right? Cardinals take them the first round, or the Jets, for that matter, way up there, even at number 16. I don't want to see it. Then there's some people clamoring for the Steelers to take him beyond Aaron Rodgers, but this could be Kenny Pickett part 2. So I don't know if they want to do that either. So yeah, so I think Ty Simpson's value is being a little bit inflated. I think everyone's desperate. We got to get a second quarterback to be interested in this draft, but let's not force it here. I think early in the second round would make a lot of sense for him, for the Jets, Cardinals, Browns, those type of teams. I don't even know if he's going to start right away. I think of the Browns, he'll still have to compete with Shedeur Sanders. The Cardinals, they have Jacoby Brissett coming off a pretty decent season, filling in for Kyler Murray. And then the Jets have Geno Smith, of course. So there's no guarantee Ty Simpson is going to start either. So, and I think he has less a chance to dethrone somebody like Geno Smith right now, right? I mean, I think Mendoza is good enough to beat out Cousins, but I'm not sure Simpson is good enough to say he should be playing over Geno Smith. So a lot of interesting landing spots for Simpson, but I got to see it to believe it. I'm not buying him. He's got a lot of Will Levis vibes for me that I'm not all that interested in right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I see actually a smaller Daniel Jones in him, which that's not ideal.
All these things are not good.
Like a Drew Lock, maybe, but not as strong of an arm. So that's not great either. But that will be it for today. Thank you for tuning into Locked On Fantasy Football. We will be back. Vinny's doing another episode that will be posted on Friday. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Fantasy Football so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Fantasy Football ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and more. Head to lockedonfantasyfootball.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to join the club. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye, y'all.